and welcome to another episode of Grand Slam Saturday on this June 12, 2021. I am Big Polly coming to you. Our match to start off Grand Slam Saturday is a big one. Dory Funk Jr. defending the world title against Bruno Sammartino, and I made an error in the title, so I'm going to fix that up. That JH should not be there. If I make an error, folks, you'll be the first to know. And sometimes I make errors and I just show them to you and say, okay, I'm a one-man band here. And sometimes these things do not go the way that they should. So I am fixing the error and I will have that fixed for you in a moment. And there we go. It's a world title match, not a world junior heavyweight title. Bruno Sammartino all of a sudden did not lose a whole bunch of weight and go down to 225 pounds. And if he did, there'd be some questions about it. So let's show you who the champions are of GSW right now. The most recent change we have had was in Canada. As we kicked off, Canada is now the merged Montreal and Calgary circuits in Toronto, and in week 22, Jackie Pallo upended Hector Garza, and that was the last bout we had last week on last week's episode. Nothing else has changed to this point. The New York card has played itself out, and we will give you the results right now. In our first bout, it was a dark match, as you had a couple of indie pool guys trying to break into the ranks, and if they win, they get a contract. If they cross over 100 points in a certain circuit's auspices, then they get out of the pool, the indie pool, and they get guaranteed contracts as long as they stay over a ranking over 100. And if you fall below 100, then no matter the territory you are in, you get put into the indie pool. Kind of like AAA in baseball. The Valiants won by pin over Pat O'Connor, not with an E, thank you very much, and Ronnie Etchinson, and it was quick too, 3:47. They only had a 20-minute time limit to work with, and the Valiant brothers will try to be the kings of New York. Jesse Ventura, who has been a bit of a giant killer in GSW. A couple of years ago, he defeated Hulk Hogan. And today, he beats Giant Baba, hoisting the big man up and getting him in a reverse pile driver at 626. Speaking of big guys and little guys, Tiger Mask won by DQ when Giant Haystacks attempted to injure Tiger's hand. It looked brutal as the match was going on, and the fall took place at 8:19, but Tiger, the x-rays came back negative. He'll be fine when they do the next trip around the horn, which will be week 27 here in GSW. Jim Lundos over Taz, and Giant Haystacks runs in and gets into Lundos' business, 24-51. Lundos, a DQ winner. The Dudleys stunned the Road Warriors, beating them by countout at 17-51. Davey Boy Smith defeats Edge by DQ. They're already talking about a match perhaps in week 27. Baby Doll appeared in Tully Blanchard's corner. You might remember Baby Doll Nicola Roberts was also in the camp of Tully Blanchard when he was in Mid-Atlantic in real life. But he was no help to Tully Blanchard as she runs in. Looked like Sherry had Blanchard in imminent danger of being pinned, but Sherry got the DQ win to retain when Baby Doll ran in and went 17-13. And Sherry got the attention of Baby Doll, and Baby Doll headed for the hills, such as they are in New York. So we have Dory Funk Jr., Bruno Sammartino. Sammartino, the highest rated wrestler in the revised Eastern Combine, which is now Canada, New York, Charlotte, and Atlanta. The Central Combine, North American Central Combine, is now Tampa, Chicago, Minnesota, St. Louis. And the new Western Combine of the North America is Memphis, Texas, because Dallas and Houston merged, Los Angeles, and Portland. So we are off with this match. Already done the prelims. Both these guys have exceptional stamina. Dory Funk Jr. on his champion card, 74-4, which means he loses, at 74 points of damage, he loses 4 points of stamina. His stamina level goes up 4 on his pin rating, so Bruno's going to have to put a little bit of work in to get a pinfall in 60 minutes. Bruno starts at 23.18.2 on his pin rating, and his stamina is 76.4, which is very exceptional. Uh, and the computer thinks Dory Funk Jr. will win the match. We had these two guys on a few weeks back, and Dory got a pin in 40 minutes. But considering the high ranking that San Martino continues to have, even with the loss to Dory, he was invited back for another championship shot at it. And we are underway. A headlock by Dory Funk Jr. gets things going. San Martino will also be part of the final stage of the Monarch of the Mat tournament. We'll have a couple more Monarch of the Mat finals for you as this episode progresses. Submission move. Well, you're not going to get Dory that early. Suplex attempt. Looked like some foul play here, but you're not going to get Bruno again this early in the match. As a champ on the champions card, because Dory did have a couple of matches as non-champion, he's 9-2-6, 9-2-5 overall. Just recently beat Antonino Rocca by countout in San Juan. Bruno is 7-1-1. He came in undefeated last month before losing to Funk Jr. on a side roll pin. So he's back for another shot at it. And we have had a deep cut on Dory Funk Jr. So that's not a good sign right away for the champ. Submission move, bear hug. No, we don't even have to count that, do we? Body slam by Funk. He's moving the big man around, and a headlock. He's got it cinched in at the 3:42 mark. Early on, Funk has a cut. Bruno has picked up a lot of damage, but he is not cut. He's already picked up 48 points in 4 minutes. That's usually not good. Punches by the champion. Spinning toe hold, but that was countered. Bruno saw that coming a mile away. Legal chop by Bruno. Body slam by Bruno. And this is what he's got to do. Tries for the big body slam, but Dory Funk Jr. counters that. Legal headbutt. Countered by Bruno. Headlock by Bruno, and that works. Legal whip to the ropes by Bruno, countered. Body slam by Dory Funk. And no pin attempt there. We have only had, let's see here. We've had 2 pin attempts by the champ, none by Bruno so far. A headlock by Bruno. Arm holds by Bruno. Punches by Bruno. Illegal punches by Bruno. Headlock by Dory Funk. Punches some more for Dory Funk Jr. Almost at the 9-minute point, Bruno's slightly ahead on the damage rendered, and Dory is cut too. Arm holds by Bruno, biting by Bruno. Ooh, hope Bruno didn't skip the salad on his pre-match meal tonight. Otherwise, Dory's going to be a mess. Illegal punches by Bruno. Bruno's still at the lead with the 10-minute mark. Vertical suplex. No, you're not going to get Dory that early. Kick by Dory. Submission move by Dory. Scuttlebutt we are hearing is the winner will be going to Minneapolis next week for a title defense. If it's Dory, it'll be Vern Gagne. If it's Bruno, it'll be Big Van Vader. Power move by Bruno. Disqualify check. Arm holds used by Bruno. Pile driver by Bruno countered. Punches used by Dory Funk Jr. And on a control loss goes back to Bruno, who loses control right back. And a suplex by Dory Funk Jr. scores, and that's 10 more points. We are nearing the 15-minute mark. Dory ahead on damage. Dory is behind on damage, and he has the cut. So Bruno off to a good start, but he's got to pick up the pace a little bit. Headlock. Whip to the ropes. Suplex attempt. Specialty move. Pile driver. And that was countered. Ropes move countered by Bruno. Body slam countered by Bruno. So a lot of countering going on. So if they ever get into the kitchen design business, they'd be in good shape. No pin. Illegal punches by Bruno. Arm holds by Bruno. Power move by Bruno. He's built up a 100-point lead now at almost the 19-minute mark. Disqualified check. Arm hold used. Pin hold. Small package, but that does not even get a 1 count. Face rake by Bruno. Bruno pulling out all the stops to try to win the title. Dory has now been champion 15 weeks, which is nowhere near the longest reign. We've had some quite long reigns in GSW in terms of who's been world champion. Frank Gotch had a long reign. Farmer Burns had a long reign. And if Bruno wins the title, we use his champion's card, and he may have a long reign. So we're just using his basic card now. Arm hold by Bruno. And he is 126 points ahead on damage and 23 on cuts at the 20-minute mark. So he's off to a very good start. Oh, we had a DQ. We had a DQ. Oh, Bruno got a little testy, and he threw the ref over the top rope. That is not good. And Dory makes Bruno loses cool, and he is going to keep the belt by disqualification here. Tough break for Bruno, but he should know you do not manhandle the referees. So Dory is going to pick up 2 points. He's going to go to 159 for his ranking. Bruno's going to fall to 151. They may get a rematch. He may get a rematch again, but we'll see what happens with the Monarch of the Mat tournament. I'm sure whoever wins that will probably get a immediate crack at the world champion, unless somehow the world champion winds up in the tournament. But this was an opportunity that seemed to slip by for Bruno. We will go through the match stats. The time was 21:23. We like one fall matches here in GSW. We don't do a lot of 2 out of 3 fall, just because it's a bit more messy. Bruno threw ref over the top rope in a fit of rage. And the final stats, 230. He was off to a good start, which makes us even more of a shame. Dory was 220 and 23 cuts and 98 for Bruno, and it was a 3.5-star match, despite the fact that Bruno loses his cool kind of early. I'm writing Bruno loses his cool early, might have to depend on success in the Monarch of the Mat tournament. Final stage to get reconsidered. For a title shot. And with that, we have 2 matches coming up for you this week from Charlotte, the Charlotte circuit. So we will go there next. This is GSW Grand Slam Saturday. And welcome to the next bout here on Grand Slam Saturday. We're going to have 2 bouts from the Charlotte circuit. And this is the first, and this is a pretty big one too, because of the title ramifications. It's Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat against the Von Brauners for the World Tag Titles in the Charlotte circuit, and we'll be staying in the Charlotte circle for the first ever GSW Lights Out match between Paul Jones and Sting. And that'll be our next bout. So let's go through the 5 matches instead of 6 that have already happened in the Charlotte circuit tonight. Carlos Colon by DQ over Yoshiaki Yatsu. We keep hearing rumors Colon and the Charlotte circuit might be working out a blockbuster deal with the San Juan circuit that would probably send some Mid-Atlantic talent back to Charlotte in exchange for Colon. Colon's been kind of squirming to get back to home in Puerto Rico, so looks like that might be a done deal. Kind of like the recent Julio Jones trade where it's been talked about for a while and then finally it suddenly happens. Bobby Eaton upset Antonino Rocca by countout. Rocca is our touring grappler because he has the most belt points in GSW singles right now at 15, even more than Andre. So until he wins a title or Andre wins a title of note or eclipses 15 points, it's going to be Rocca who's the point man for our tours. But Eaton won by countout. Ric Flair over Nikolai Volkov. Actually, no, they went to a 30-minute draw, but The Rock If you smell what the Rock is cooking, he interfered late in this bout. And it looks like The Rock and Flair will have a match in 5 weeks' time. America's team very quickly over the Outsiders. 54 seconds was all Dusty and TA needed. TA with the belly-to-belly suplex. Jerry Briscoe was mauled at the hands of Greg Valentine. Valentine tried to injure Jerry. So Jerry wins by DQ, and the injury attempt failed. So off we go now with our World Championship match. The Von Brauners are the International Tag Champions, and they are managed by Saul Weingroff, gentleman Saul Weingroff. You see him on the right side. And the way it will work, if the Von Brauners win the world titles, the international titles will be put up in a battle royal, and that will be our about 2 bouts from now, should it happen, the bout for the Atlantic Circuit. If that does not happen, we will do a women's title match from the Atlanta Circuit, because that's the scheduled main event as we know it now. So let's go and get this match started. Computer thinks this will be a tough sled for each man. They will both have champions' privileges for the bout because they are both champions. But this will be for the world title, and the Von Brauners will get the pin deductions befitting them as international tag champions, which will be the same thing. It's like a title versus title match, with the exception that if the Youngblood and Steamboat duo win, they do not become international champions, but if the Von Brauners win, they do become world tag team champions, and we'll have that battle royal for you a little later in our show, if that should happen. Right now, let's close in on the display. Here we go, and off we go. Fan interaction right off the bat, and Jay and Ricky are going to start on the plus side. They're plus 10. Throat chop by Youngblood and Steamboat. So they've opened up a 17-point lead, which is now a 22-point lead with another successful move. This will be one fall, 60-minute time limit should we go to a draw, or some result other than the Von Brauners winning by pin or submission. Then they keep the championships. With slam body press combo countered very quickly by the Von Brauners. Salt does not interfere much in matches. Arm hold, and the Von Brauners finally get a hold in to knock the 10 points to the good Youngblood and Steamboat have down to 6. And a double team both ways. Some double teaming going on, so that's 30 points off each way. So now you really get the feel that the match has started in earnest. Legal punching by the Von Brauners. And they go for a quick pin. No, they do not get it. The odds were kind of against it. They would need a 1 in 20. They had a 1 in 20 chance of getting that 3 count. They got the 2, but they did not get the 3. And off we go. Double team attempt by the Von Brauners succeeds. Illegal punches succeed. By the way, Youngblood and Steamboat come in 10-4-3 for year 4. The Von Brauners, even though they are the champs, are 2-4-2. Just lost the countout to the Guerreros in their last title defense. Illegal choking by the Von Brauners. Briscoes were supposed to get this shot, but Jerry Briscoe had to go off and win the international title, as we explained earlier. Kick by the Von Brauners, so it went to the second longest team, and we have specialty move that leaves Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat decimated outside the ring. Von Brauners slowly climb back in the ring. And yeah, the Youngblood and Steamboat duo are counted out, which means everybody keeps their respective championships. And you might see a rematch down the road between the Von Brauners and Ricky and Jay. This might even wind up being a rematch at Monarch of the Mat, the Final 8, at the Checkerdome in St. Louis. So the Von Brauners are your winners. By count out, both teams keep their respective titles. Andy Von Braun. Whoops. Putting this in the wrong column. But it will be a 4-point swing in the rankings. Each team keeps its respective title. And the Von Brauners pick up 4 points. Time of the fall was 4:07. And what we had was 78 to 57 in damage. So that didn't take too long, did it? 2.5 points. 2.5 stars the match gets. So we will pause for a moment, set up our next bout, and we'll be right back. And we're now ready for our main event here in the Charlotte circuit. It is a big one. It's the first time in GSW history we've had a match like this. It's lights out, loser leaves town. Paul Jones and Sting have had quite a feud in Charlotte the last few bouts. They had a cage match which did not resolve anything because it was stopped on cuts as Sting was too badly cut up to continue, and there was no clause suggesting that the match shouldn't be stopped on cuts, so they stopped it on cuts. So this is loser leave town. This is no DQ, no time limit, no stopping on cuts. And we have set up the match, and I thought I would show you something here. We'll set the options. We already have the no DQ, no time limit, and there is no cut limit rule for this bout. Ladies and gentlemen, the regularly sanctioned action is about to end. The arena lights will be turned off. Briefly, this signifies the end of the regular show. When the lights come back on, arena lights come back on, stay tuned for an unsanctioned lights out match. This will count in the rankings, but that's all. In fact, there go the lights, and now they come back on. We have walked you through the previous matches in the Charlotte circuit, so let's just get down to it. Paul Jones, who's a heel in Charlotte against Sting. We'll see who prevails in this match. No time limit, no disqualification. We should get this battle settled between the two once and for all, and the loser will be heading to another circuit. Paul Jones comes in 3-2. And Sting comes in 5-2 in year 4, and off we go. No action, auto control loss, power move by Sting. But Paul Jones is a crafty mother, so we'll see what happens here. Illegal choking by Sting. Remember, this is no DQ. Anything can go or will go. And a submission move, which is not going to score, so we're not going to try it. Body slam by Sting. Bonus points if you know the announcer who coined that phrase for the lights out match. Legal choking by Sting, legal power moves, anything can go or will go. Leg hold. No action for Sting. Ropes move countered, illegal punches by Sting. This is a fight to the finish. It was Gordon Soley, by the way, who said that. Anything can go or will go. Legal whip to the ropes countered. Eye gouge by Paul Jones. No action. Airplane spin by Jones. He got the bigger Sting up, but not a pin. Suplex attempt by Jones, and boom, it succeeds. 10 points off of Sting's total. Exactly 5 minutes gone by in the bout. It's 45 off of Jones, 26 off of Sting. No action. Illegal punches. Submission move by Jones, but it wasn't on very long. So we continue. A body slam by Jones. Number 1. Lighting it up right now. A kick by Jones. Illegal punches countered by Jones. Ropes move. That was a flying punch for Sting, and Jones was not stung enough. Bout dead even now on damage. Headlock by the Stinger. That scores. Legal throw by Sting. Legal power move by Stings. Auto control loss. And auto control loss right back. And a third time we've had an auto control loss. Back to back to back. Legal punches by Jones. No action. No action. Auto control loss. Both of these guys are a little tentative because they know their next move could be their last move and they could be headed to another territory. Legal punches by Jones. No action. No action. A counter. We're 10 minutes into the bout now. A body slam by Sting. No pin. And Sting with about a 23-point lead. Nobody has been cut yet in this bout. Inside cradle. Does not score. Legal pin attempt spotted by the ref. Good show. No action by Sting. We go back to Jones. No, auto control loss by Sting. Forearm by Jones. No pin. We're 12:08 into the bout. And remember, this is no time limit. Headlock. Countered by Jones. Illegal punches by Jones. Jones going for something big here. Airplane spin, but that's countered. Legal whip to the ropes. Legal arm hold by Sting. Chop by Sting. And now a shoulder lock. Sting slows the bout down. Sting still in front. And it's like boxing. You could be leading, but if that knockout comes and you're in the lead and you get knocked out, that's the fight. Body slam and no pin attempt. Illegal pin attempt spotted again by the referee. Referee and Jones getting into it a little bit. Auto control loss. Sting now with a control. Stinger splash. Good night, Paul Jones. 15:09. Sting prevails after a rather lethargic performance last time these two met. Paul Jones. Here he could be going down to San Juan with Carlos Colon, but we will have to check on that as time progresses. Sting will pick up 3 points for the win. If it was a non-sanctioned match, but it still counts in the rankings all the same. 15:09 your time. Stinger splash. And Sting stings Paul Jones. Got a 3-star rating, no blood. Rather quick resolution to this. So Sting hangs around and Paul Jones won't. And with that, we now head for a women's title match to Hot Atlanta. Stand by. And here we are in Atlanta with match number 4 of GSW Grand Slam Saturday. It's Fabulous Moolah and Mildred Burke resuming hostilities, this time in the great city of Atlanta. After this, we'll have our 2 Monarch of the Tournament matches for the week in San Juan and London, and then that will do it for this episode. So you're getting 6 matches this week, so have fun with all that. Grab yourself some more popcorn, and I'll go through what happened in the Atlantic Circuit as soon as I transition over there. There we go. Buddy Rogers and Ray Gunkel. Gunkel making his debut, and it was not long for Gunkel. He'll go to the indie pool. He lost by DQ. Buddy Rogers wins 26-13 when Gunkel decided to inadvertently shove the ref. And the ref said, "That's it, you're gone." Eddie Guerrero over Makan Singh. So Singh now goes to the indie pool. 17-42 with a frog splash. Eddie wins that way. Adrian Adonis, Kenta Kobashi went to a draw, 30 minutes. So both sides pick up some points there. The Masked Assassins, if they had lost by pin, they would have gone to the indie pool as well. They lose to the Rock and Roll Express, but by DQ, so they don't lose any points. Ole Anderson thought it was a waste of time to battle Bob Sapp, and his words were prophetic as he wins by a flying knee and armbar, and that should be a submission, not a pinfall, that Ole won by. So Bob Sapp gave it up, and they both stay in Atlanta because Sapp has 106 ranking points, and you need to be under 100 to go to the indie pool. Surprise here is Jushin Thunder Liger defeats Mr. Wrestling 2 by countout. 2 was enraged by the outcome, and he wants to place a bounty on Jushin Thunder Liger, and we'll see who comes along and collects that. So Mildred Burke and Fabulous Moolah, they know each other well. They have battled each other scores of times in the most recent weeks. Moolah 4-4-2 in year 4. Had a very poor showing in the Belle of the Brawl tournament that takes place in the first quarter of each year. And Mildred is 11-2-2, she having won the Belle of the Brawl tournament here in year number 4. And I do not make the rope speed move changes because if they both have the same holes to trade, I think they cancel each other out. And this is one fall, 60 minutes in time for Moolah's world title. And Moolah should retain the title in this championship match, and we will get started here momentarily, and then we will get to our tournament bouts. And next week, not the next week in terms of real time, but we will have for you live uh, in the coming days the first two rounds of the final stage of Monarch of the Math, the round of 18, the round of 16. In the round of 18, we'll have some indie matches thrown into that card from Carbondale, Illinois. And then in the round of 16, we will just do the first. It'll be the first match for everybody in the final stage. You got to be 15, 16, 17, or 18 seeded to be part of the first round of the tournament. So off we go. Body slam immediately by Burke. Burke was small, but very, very muscular. And of course, Moolah was a long reigning champ. Legal forearm by Moolah to counter. Leg hold by Moolah. And another leg hold. Working on those strong legs, trying to work them down. So a couple of consecutive holds. Auto control loss. Back to Burke. Burke goes for a ropes move, but that was countered. Nerve hold by Moolah. Moolah wants to slow the pace down of the match. These two actually did at one point, and they have faced each other many times. In GSW, went to a 60-minute draw against each other. Disqualified check, possible DQ stopped. Ropes move. And Moolah with a flying knee drop for 13 damage on Burke. Legal throw, no pin. Pin hold by Moolah. Moolah is defending the title, meaning this is a defend the title match. She could use her womanly wiles and try to cheat to keep her title. Punches by Moolah. Of course, she gets disqualified. She still keeps the belt. Legal elbow by Burke. These are clearly the number one and number two contenders right now in the GSW ladies game, and the attempt on Moolah fails. Punches by Burke. Strategy card used, possible DQ stop. Pin holds countered. Rope moves countered. Choking by Burke. And we are about 6.5 gone by. Burke doing a little less in terms of damage. Moolah with the damage lead right now. We'll see where we are. This is one of those bouts that could shift very quickly. Legal knee by Moolah. Leg hold by Lillian Ellison. Pile driver by Moolah. She must have heard me calling her Lillian. Specialty match action. Burke using arm holds. No action. Throw by Burke. Burke has control. Alligator clutch. Does not score the pin. It would have been she would have had a 1 in 40 shot to get her this early. Leg hold by Burke. Body slam by Burke. And again, nowhere near getting that 3 count. And Moolah is busted open. Her lip has been ripped open. She's bleeding from the lip. Don't try to kiss her, whatever you do. And now Burke way ahead on damage. Crooked head scissors. She'll try for the submission. She doesn't get it. Arm holds used by Burke at the 13-minute mark, or almost. It's now Burke with a lead and Moolah cut. And remember that in a match where it is stopped by cuts are not a pin or a submission, so Moolah would keep the championship in GSW's rules. Auto control loss. Legal knee by Burke. Arm holds by Burke. Burke just working her woman here. More arm holds. Illegal choking by Burke. Eye gouge by Burke. Burke kind of stooping the Moolah's level here a bit. Headlock by Burke. Scores. Suplex attempt does not. And now Moolah with a small package. And that's 5 points off. Pinhold by Moolah onto Burke. Does not score. We're at the 16:51 mark. Burke has widened her lead in terms of damage. But Burke with the body slam now, very long odds of getting a pin, which does not happen. Submission move now by Burke. We'll cancel it because we now know that Moolah does not tap out that quickly. Kick by Burke. Arm hold by Moolah. Moolah going for a specialty move to slave lock, but that does not get a submission. Just weakens Burke by 12 damage points. Throat chop by Moolah. Hope Burke doesn't try for a singing career. Foreign object, but that's countered. We're at 20 minutes exactly. Burke with a 73-point damage lead, and Moolah also cut. Burke with a camel clutch, but that does not cinch in. No action. Turnbuckle by Moolah. And Moolah chokes Burke when refusing the order to break by the referee. Watch Moolah here. She might get herself the cue. Chair shot by Moolah. 15 more points off of Burke. Tries for the slave lock again, but that's not going to score on Burke. Burke does not submit, or is not ready to submit, at least that easily. Hair pull by Moolah. Countered. Legal punches by Burke. These two really going at it here. Supplé attempt by Burke does not score. Countered by Moolah. Moolah going for the slave lock again, but that's countered. They know each other well. They have been battling each other quite a lot for supremacy of the ladies' division of GSW. Kick by Burke. Whip to the ropes by Burke. And let's see here. A figure four. Well, that's not going to score. Kick by Burke. Pin holds by Burke. An inside cradle, but no pinning combination. Stomp to the midsection by Burke. Well, I hope Moolah ate something light for dinner. And we have a pinhold countered. Ropes move by Moolah. Flying punch. 13 more points off. We're now past the 25-minute mark. We're at 26-22 to be exact. Burke still holding a 72-point lead. Kick by Burke. Alligator clutch. And Moolah did something to get herself the cue. Ally, who had been pacing at ringside, slides into the ring and starts stomping. It looks like, oh yes, it's Bull Nakano. Bull Nakano has stepped into the bout. And Moolah will be DQ'd for outside interference. And I think Burke will want a shot at Bull Nakano, perhaps on that card in Carbondale, Illinois. So Burke wins by DQ, which will get her another shot at Moolah as these two keep going back and forth. And that'll be +2 to Burke, which will actually give her a higher ranking than the champ. Time of the fall was 27:43. 27:43. And it was 2:36. Well, first we got to put in Bull Nakano interferes. And it's 2:36 with a 40 cut for Moolah. And for Burke, 148. And it was a 4-star match, though. It was a good match. So Burke and Nakano might have a little business to take care of in the coming weeks. And I hope you enjoyed this match from Atlanta. Now we head a little south and east to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And welcome to the latest part of Grand Slam Saturday, our latest bout. We have 2 bouts left for you before we call it a show. This is the Monarch of the Mat Circuit Qualifier Final from the San Juan Circuit. El Santo was the number 1 seed here. But as you see, things did not go according to plan. Our 2 finalists in the bout you're about to see, Riki Chozu from Japan, Rene Guajardo, El Copetes, I'm guessing here. He is from Mexico. And we're going to show you what happened in the preliminary rounds. It was a topsy-turvy tournament. Once we got past the first round, we had a battle between Brickhouse Brown, Black Gordman, Lynn Rossi, and Johnny Kincaid. Brown, your winner, and he got the 16 seed. Bobo Brazil lost to Mr. Saito, one of 3 high seeds to go down, the higher seeds, in this first round. Dynamite Kid over Arn Anderson. Riki Chozu and Dick Slater. Chozu got a little lucky all the way through the tournament. Chozu advanced on a time limit draw. Rene Guajardo's first upset victim was Dr. Jerry Graham. Rene won by DQ when Graham refused to break a hold. Dr. Wagner and Lismark, it was a double countout, so Dr. Wagner advanced. Miguel Perez Sr. over Villano, 4 of a sunset flip in 19 minutes even. Dos Caras drew with Jose Lothario. Somebody dressed up in drag busted open Caras, and Lothario nearly scored a pin, 2 or 3 times in the last 10 minutes of that bout. We'll have to find out who wants a piece of Dos Caras. El Santo and Brickhouse Brown, they quickly went to a count out. El Santo won in just 24 seconds. We go to the quarterfinals. It was Dr. Wagner Jr. and Rene Guajardo. Guajardo won again, pinfall this time, 14:38. Miguel Perez Sr. and Ricky Chozu won again by countout, 32 minutes even. Dos Caras and Dynamite Kid. Dos Caras loses to Dynamite Kid, 25-42 on a suplex. El Santo and Mr. Saito, it was Santo over Saito by a countout. In the semifinals, which we just did before we hit the air, Ricky Chozu and Dynamite Kid went to a double DQ. Chozu, despite being impaired, put a whooping on Dynamite Kid, and they went to a double DQ, so Chozu, as the high seed, automatically advances. El Santo and Rene Guajardo did it again, stunning El Santo with a body slam, 30-26, in a match that got 3.5 stars. So Guajardo, another discovery of the Monarch of the Mat tournament, much like Jack Sherry and much like a few others. And he might be part of our first round of the final stage that we're going to do next week. Perhaps in the next episode of Grand Slam Saturday. Actually, what we're going to do with the first round is we're going to show you all the matches. They'll be sanctioned by the St. Louis circuit, but only 2 of the bouts will be tournament related. So we'll have that for you. It'll be a kind of a super card before the super card before the super card right here on Grand Slam Wrestling. But let's get to our main event. Chozu and Guajardo. By the way, you might notice that my notebook looks a little new. Got an upgrade so I could do it in dark mode in this week that has just passed by. Chozu comes in 3 wins, 1 loss, 3 draws, and Guajardo is undefeated, 3-0, and he debuted in that first round bout with Dr. Jerry Graham. So this is 60 minutes without Mike Wallace and Morley Safer. If we have a stalemate, then Chozu will be the tournament entrant to the final stage. Guajardo, though, he's a giant killer, so I wouldn't put anything past him. Computer thinks this bout will be even. So do I. And let's close in and call a match here between Ricky Chozu and Rene Guajardo. And if you had this final pairing before this tournament started, grab some lottery tickets. Body slam countered. Chozu got the first move in. Guajardo now illegal leg hold. 5 points off of Chozu. Chozu is impaired because he was busted open in one of his preliminary matches. Action happening outside the ring, and now Guajardo has been busted open. So he loses 15 points on that, and 15 points of stamina. Chozu out to an early lead. Lariato! No pin. That's what they call a lariat in Japan, the lariato. Kick by Chozu. Specially moved back suplex, but that was countered by Guajardo, who comes back with an illegal turnbuckle move. 6 points off of Chozu's stamina. Chozu has a size advantage, and actually the fans are cheering for Guajardo, the 12 seed, to pull it off. A headlock on Guajardo, auto control loss. We go back to Chozu, who has a small package. And Guajardo, I believe, was a welterweight, maybe. He was definitely under 200 pounds, so that small package is a little smaller. Hair pull by Guajardo. That's not really going to change Chozu's demeanor. Arm hold by Rene. Back suplex. Almost got him. The 5 on the 3 count. He needed a 4 or lower. Legal leg hold by Chozu. Kick by Chozu. No action. Kick by Chozu again. And this is an Indian deathlock, but this is not going to get the submission done. kick by Chozu again. Disqualify check. The DQ was stopped. We are using the -10 DQ rules that are suggested for tournaments, but that doesn't stop DQs from happening, or double DQs, as we saw in Chozu's semifinal with the Dynamite Kid, which had all the makings of a good bout, but Chozu just dominated the smaller Dynamite Kid, who was a heel on his single card, by the way. Auto control loss, back to Guajardo, a body slam. Well, you're not going to get the bigger man up. Body slam by Chozu, and he just picks Guajardo up like a sack of potatoes. Inside cradle on Chozu, no pin. Guajardo could not hold that weight of Chozu's. Body slam by Guajardo. This is how he pinned Del Santo, no pin. We're 11:39 into the bout. Guajardo trailing by 67 points and 15 on cuts. Hair pull by Guajardo, just to get under Chozu's skin a little bit. Body slam by Guajardo, but countered by Chozu, the larger man of the two. Chozu with a pin hold that was countered. Legal neck hold by Guajardo. Auto control loss goes back to Chozu, who rams Guajardo face first to the turnbuckle. Specialty move, Scorpion, Deathlock. Countered. Guajardo saw that coming. A kick by Guajardo. Throat chop by Guajardo, that was countered. Back to Chozu, kick, countered. Back to Guajardo. Punches outside the ring apron by Guajardo. Illegal throat chop. No pin. 60-minute time limit, so Guajardo has to get a positive result before we hit that 60-minute mark. No action, 3 no actions. Now a ropes move, a flying clothesline by Chozu. And he got him. Rene Guajardo pin. His Cinderella bid comes to an end. Time of the fall was 17 minutes. And in that much time, Chozu, the 6th seed, is going to advance to the final stage of the Monarch of the Mat tournament, which will begin next week. Calendar time, not real time. It might be an episode or two till it might be a week or two till you'll start seeing the first supercard that I'll have for you, which will be the 2 first-round bouts and a few other bouts from the St. Louis region. So Chozu by pin, the time of the fall, 17 minutes. He will pick up 4 points for the win in the rankings. So he had a nice little bump in rankings. And remember that we seed who makes the finals, or the seedings for the final stage, based on the seedings coming into this circuit stage. So 17 minutes on a flying clothesline. Chozu will advance, and it was 65 points damage off of him and 125 and a 15-point cut for Guajardo. And the match got 3 stars even. So with that, we now take you to London, England for their Monarch of the Mat Circuit Qualifying Final and the last Circuit Qualifying Final. So stand by. You have made it. You have made it to the final leg of Grand Slam Saturday. This is Big Paulie coming to you to wrap up the Monarch of the Mat Qualifier Tournament that we have been doing these last 9 weeks. This is the qualifier final for the London circuit. Let me first show you the 17 who have already made the final stage of the tournament. We will have the first round of that next week. Next week being the 19th of June after Grand Slam Saturday. We're going to do a PPV special, kind of like a supercard before a supercard before a supercard. That'll be 8 o'clock on the 19th. We'll do it for you live here on Grand Slam Wrestling on the Big Paulie's World of Sports Sims channel. Those are the champions of the respective circuits. I thought for a minute I accidentally had put the champion roll call up. But as you see it, this is who has made the tournament so far. And in our last match, Ricky Chozu punched his ticket to the final stage. And now we're going to find out who wins between Bird Azerati and Mitsuharu Misawa to determine the last entrant into the final stage. This is the London tournament, so let's go through what happened from start to finish up until this final bout. Because we only had 17 entrants into the London tournament, we had a play-in match instead of a battle royal. It was Gamma Singh very easily over Bobby the Brain Heenan, who thought he could outsmart Singh, but Singh had other ideas. We go to the first round, not the firsty round. See, when I make errors, I just like to fix them right in front of you. Like that. First round. Big Daddy over Mick McManus. Gideon Gita and Billy Robinson went to a 30-minute draw. Gita had the higher seed as these seeds were determined after the first quarter of year 4. At that time, Gita was ahead in the rankings, so he got the nod. Atlantis over a very bloody Warlord. Misawa over Paul Orndorff, forearm to the nose at 15:42. Otto wins, stunned by Dr. Bill Miller. Bird Azerati over Pitbull 2. George Kidd over, he did not win actually. Let me rephrase that. Martin Karadagian, the Argentine star, defeated George Kidd, and in an Atlantic title match, remember titles are in play during tournament matches, whether they be qualifiers or the final stage. Kentaru Oki over Gamma Singh. So we moved on to the quarterfinals with the 2 seed already out. Misawa over Bill Miller by countout. Azerati defeats Atlantis by pin. Gita and Martin Karadagian went to a draw. Very impressive performance. His 2 bouts by Karadagian, but Gita advanced to the semis. Kentaro Oki, in a battle of fan favorites, defeats Big Daddy with the atomic bomb headbutting at 9:07. To the semifinals we went, and we had 2 heels in one bout and 2 baby faces in another. Azerati over Gideon Gita. Bird Azerati won by pin, 34-17, headbutt to the body. Misawa, this was a non-title bout because Misawa is one half of the Pacific Tag Team Championship, held also with Toshiaki Kawada. Misawa won 29:05 when Oki refused to break a hold, so he was disqualified. That sets up our final. Bird Azerati, Mitsuharu Misawa. Misawa, a legend in Japan under the shadow of Inoki, Giant Baba, and Ricky Dozan. Bird Azerati, a bit of a legend in his own right in the British circuits. So this is going to be quite the final for you. I'm going to look real fast and let's see here. Azerati, 38 points off, 165 points off, and then another 349. And I'm looking at Misawa. Misawa lost 84 in the first round, 100 when you total, and yeah. No advantage either way in terms of fatigue. I don't think either man was busted open in their bouts. I'm just double checking that real fast. Yes, so we can go straight to this championship final for the London circuit. Nobody, the computer analysis doesn't believe either man has an advantage here, and I would agree with that assessment. So here we go to determine the last spot in the final stage. It's Misawa against Bird Azerati. Azerati has the photograph on the left of your screen, and Misawa is on the right. Ding, 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 and let's start the bout. Both men come in with good records. Azerati 4-1-2. Misawa just 4-1. 4 wins, 1 loss, no draws. We start with an auto control loss. Misawa loses control right away to Bert Azerati, who is strong, but not very, I wouldn't say he has great size. Pinhold countered right away. Submission move by Misawa. Misawa went for it, which is kind of surprising. And we have a headbutt by Misawa. That's kind of Bert's MO, is to use his head frequently as a weapon. And that's a headbutt to the back, 4 points off of Azerati. Kick by Misawa. That's where Misawa will probably shine with his Japanese skills. OLI is monitoring the match. Wrestlers lock up after pushing and pulling each other. Remember, if we have a double countout or a result which does not end with a winner, the higher seed will advance to the final stage. Arm hold used by Misawa. No action. It's kind of a dodgy kind of match right now. Leg hold by Azarati. Ropes move, a flying headbutt by Azarati. Like I said, he's kind of like, to compare him to a modern day grappler, would be like the missing link, Dewey Robertson. With his missing link gimmick, he would use his head as a weapon. Face rake by Azarati. Throat chop by Azarati was countered. Body slam, no pin. So we're at the 5-minute mark. It's about dead even. Azarati trailing a slight bit in damage. Whipped to the ropes by Azarati. Knee to the face. Too early for a submission for Azarati. Auto control loss. We go back to Misawa, who loses control. And we're pausing for a commercial in nature, so just assume a couple of minutes have gone by. Ropes move, flying punch by Misawa. No pin. Disqualified check. Illegal choking. Azarati just barely avoiding the 5 count. That would, in theory, get you DQ'd. No action for Azarati. Misawa with a sleeper, but it's too early for that. If you're not going to get a submission, you're not going to get anything at all. Indian Deathlock. Too early for a submission there. Flying forearm by Misawa. That might get him, but no. Remember that 2 on the 3 count means he's got a 1. It was 20 to 1 against, or about 19 to 1 against, actually. Him drawing a 1 or a 2 to get the pin. Legal turnbuckle by Misawa. We've crossed the 10-minute mark. Misawa has opened up his lead a little bit in damage. Choke by Misawa. Misawa wants to get to the final stage himself. Should point out Azarati is the 3 seed and Misawa is the 5, so they should draw pretty well. Once we draw for the final stage, although some of that has already been done by yours truly. Illegal punch is at least what I could deduce. I know one of the matches we'll have for you on the 19th will be a North American title match. We'll have Czech Sherry in action. Body punches by Azarati. Disqualify. Move. Stopped. German suplex by Misawa and a beauty, but it doesn't get the 3 count. Bear hug by Azarati. Azarati liking to use that power. He kind of strikes me as being, I've never seen him on video, but he strikes me as kind of like a short, squat fellow who's very strong. Body slam by Azarati. Legal chop by Misawa. No pin. We're 13:37 in the bout, and the Misawa lead in terms of damage has opened up even wider. Rolling reverse by Misawa. No pin. Remember, we only go 60 minutes here. It is not a no time limit match. Auto control loss by Azarati. Suplex attempt by Misawa. Thud. Beautiful. 11 points off. Turnbuckle move. Chops being delivered by Misawa onto Azarati, kind of like those Ric Flair chops. No action. Legal chop by Azarati. And another sleeper hold, but it's too early, and Azarati is not a guy who's going to submit. Illegal punches by Azarati. No action. Auto control loss. A kick by Misawa right in the mush of Bert Azarati, and that's 7 more points off. We're at 17:33. Pin hold by Misawa. No pin, but close. Misawa, arm drag takedown by Misawa. Misawa giving Azarati a wrestling lesson. Elbow by Misawa. Almost a 3 count there. So right now it's 7 pin attempts for Misawa, and Azarati has not gotten one yet. Kick by Misawa. We're at the 20-minute mark, and now Misawa up 85 in damage. No action. Kick by Azarati. And his first pin attempt nearly got it done. He needed a 2 or less. He got an 8. So that's a 5-point loss. Legal throw countered. Azarati. Legal forearm. All of a sudden, here comes Bert. No pin. So he's picked up 2 very quick pin attempt punches used by Azarati outside the ring. They both get back in the ring. Legal turnbuckle. Some cheap shotting. Maserati giving Misawa the business, as Ben Dreif of NFL fame would say. Look up Ben Dreif, 1984, Bills Jets. Headlock by Maserati that was countered. Legal neck hold by Misawa. Whip to the ropes. Low on the first 2 counts, but not enough on the 3 count. Pinhold countered. Both these guys now taking pin rating hits a few times because Maserati's at 35-34-2 and Misawa's at 33-22-9 on the pin counts. Headlock by Maserati. Low blow by Maserati. Well, we knew he would do that sooner or later. Legal punches by Maserati. Neck hold countered. Back to Maserati for an arm hold. So Maserati seems to be gaining strength as the match goes on. A headlock by Maserati. Submission move. Figure 4. No. Maserati did have to try for the submission there. Face rake countered. Elbow by Maserati was not countered because it scored, and it's 6 points off. We're at 26-43. The lead has dwindled a little bit for Misawa. His damage lead is now only 53. We don't have cuts yet. Forearm by Misawa. Pinfall! That's it. Bird Maserati pinned in 27-35. And I will widen out and show you what there is to show you. There we go. So Misawa just kept going at him. And despite the odds being against him on that last roll, Misawa gets the pin, and it will be good for a 5-point jump in the rankings for Misawa. 27-35 your time. And it was a series of quick forearms, we're being told. Nobody bled. It was 173 off of Maserati, 113 off of Misawa. A good match, 3.5 stars. So that'll do it for this week on Grand Slam Saturday. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Next week we will endeavor to be with you not only for Grand Slam Saturday at 7 o'clock, because that was the old time here in Tampa, Florida, when Channel 44 would air CWF action, but we will also be on at 8 o'clock live for the card out of Carbondale, Illinois, where we will have 7 matches, and we will also have the 2 first-round matches of Grand Slam Wrestling. I believe we have a top contenders match in the women's division, and we're going to have some action from the lower part of the roster in St. Louis, because St. Louis will also be going this week, and you'll see their main event on Grand Slam Saturday. So for now, this has been Big Paulie coming to you again, wishing you well, Godspeed, and God bless. We will do it all again soon, Lord willing, and if the creek doesn't rise, and bye-bye for now, everybody.